Josh here, and I'm excited today because something happened that I didn't think was going to happen. Snagged lives on into Gothic. I just didn't think, especially after the massive errata that Druid had, that Snagged would be able to make it into the Gothic era. But then all of the cards for Gothic were finally revealed to us, and I have been able to reforge Snagged into Dungeon. Sorcerers! This video is brought to you by Moxfield. They have just dropped their new advanced search engine for Sorcery Contested Realm. You can go check it out at sorcery.moxfield.com. The advanced search engine has a complete search syntax that allows you to search for very specific terms. In addition, whenever you go to a card, it will be highlighted with a very prominent flag indicating if it has errata. So, go check out the new advanced search engine developed by Moxfield using the link in the description of this video or using the QR code on your screen. Now back to contesting the realm! I am super excited. It is very experimental at the moment. There will be numerous changes to this deck. I will probably be playing it quite a bit. The deck itself, you can find the link to the deck in the description of this video. It will have a primer that I will use as a change log to explain the changes to the deck as I play it and test it. The choices I made, why I made those choices. Some of the changes might be small, very short descriptions. Some may be very big. But let's get into the deck itself and some of the main changes from Snagged. So first, why the name? It was Snagged. Why is it now Dungeon? It's Dungeon because of two things. First, one of the sites in the deck, as you probably guessed, is Darkest Dungeon, which is a unique site that has no threshold that states, Genesis, the next time an ally strikes an avatar this turn, teleport both of them to this site. And that's close to the phrasing of it. So, anytime an ally, when you play that site in that turn, if you can strike the avatar, they have to go and come in to your zone. And that's the whole goal. It was always the whole goal of Snagged. Get the avatar into your zone, beat them down, and using the druid's flip side where you could deal damage moving them around, pulling them around, that type of thing. Dungeon, instead of that move them around because we're not going to have druid's effect, instead focuses on getting them in there and hitting them as hard as possible, as quickly as possible. That is the whole goal. So Darkest Dungeon is one of the pieces that can do that. Now the other reason I decided to name this deck Dungeon was because of the choice of avatar. This deck is going to be using Interrogator. I mean, it's a dungeon. There's an Interrogator. This all makes sense. So what is the trade-off? With Druid, you had the ability to pull them around, ping them for all this little damage. You don't have that with Interrogator. But it solves one of the primary problems that I had with Snagged. I ran out of resources very quickly. And the Interrogator, which whenever an ally strikes an avatar, you can draw a spell unless your opponent pays 3 life, solves that issue. Because your opponent is not going to be able to pay 3 life very often. So that really helps the deck keep up its momentum, which is something that I always found with Snagged. I would gas out and then I would lose. Interrogator looks like it's going to be the solution to that problem, but trading off the damage that Druid could generate with its flip side ability. So that's the basis. That avatar, Darkest Dungeon, just is very representative of the purpose of this deck, right? To get the avatar into your realm, your side of the realm, and beat them down to win the game through directly attacking them. But there was one card that made this possible. And if this card had not come into existence with Gothic, this deck wouldn't, I don't think I could have done this. So Eric's Curiosa, thank you for Meat Hook. So Meat Hook is an artifact for 4 mana that gives the bearer Pudge's ability. So the Pudge Butcher ability to shoot a projectile, drag something in, strike it, you can do that with any minion. And what makes this even more exciting is that this is more efficient than Snagged was. With Snagged, I always had to try to get some mana ramp to get that Pudge out a turn early so that on turn 4, my turn 4, I could, use the Pudge to pull him in. With Meat Hook, I can play one of the numerous other minions in this deck on turn 3. And if that threat is not eliminated, and I have a Meat Hook in my hand on turn 4, all of a sudden, turn 4, I can pull him in. I can pull that avatar in. And there are tons of 3 mana minions in this deck. Obvious, the Lugbog Cat and the Autumn Unicorn are the big ones. Those are the ones that will probably, be doing this most often. But there are others that I really like. Again, I'm in testing, so there's going to be some things. But I did add the new, and I can't remember the first name, the Loner that lets you summon a Horrible Hybrids on Deathrite. 3 mana, 1 water threshold, 2 power, but has that Deathrite that gives you a Horrible Hybrids from your collection. Another, that's the thing, right? That's another, play it on turn 3, turn 4, Meat Hook, shoot, pull in the avatar. There it is. I even added in, when I was playing with Snagged, Overbearing Bailiff was in some of the earlier versions, and I loved it, but it just never really worked out. Overbearing Bailiff is back. Because playing Overbearing Bailiff on turn 3 and then giving him a Meat Hook and smacking your opponent for 7 is hilarious. I love it. So, Meat Hook. Without that card, I don't think I could have done this at all. So, thank you, Eric's Curiosa, for putting that card into Gothic. Very excited to use it. Very excited that I can bring Snagged into the Gothic era. And I think it feels like it's going to be a competitive deck. Now, is it going to be, top 8? No. But what I like is decks that feel semi-competitive and can perform well. And yeah, they're not going to be, it's not going to be the deck, but it's going to be fun. And I love the movement shenanigans. So, Meat Hook. In addition, we got one more minion that I got to add that also has a similar ability to Pudge. Gloam Toads. If any of you have seen any of my box openings, I was very excited the first time I opened Gloam Toads. So Gloam Toads, 5 mana, 2 water threshold, 6 power. They're immobile like Pudge. They have a Pudge-like ability. They can tap to drag target adjacent unit to them and then strike it. So they don't have the range of Pudge. They're not firing that projectile. They do have to target, and they only have that one, adjacent site reach. But because of all the movement effects in the deck that came from Snagged originally, things like Riptide, things like Koinixie, I just need to bring that avatar one step in, and then the Gloam Toads can do their thing. So, tons of tweaks coming. Tons of changes are probably coming to this deck. But right now, I am very excited. Because I think Dungeon is going to be the deck that I play. And It's going to feel familiar because it has so many of the things from the Snagged deck that I love. And so I'll know some of the little fun tricks that I can do. Oh, one other card I want to mention. Mimic. I love Mimic. When I first saw it, I was like, this should be 3 mana and not 4 mana. Because it's 4 mana, 2 water threshold for a 2 power minion. And then it reads, when this is coming into play, you can transform a carryable artifact into the Mimic under your control. So the Mimic is yours. With most effects that transform something, the original controller retains control. But the Mimic doesn't do that. The Mimic will make it so that your opponent's ring or your opponent's core or whatever other artifact they happen to be carrying around, all of a sudden, it's a Mimic. Boom! Hit them. And what's amazing, Darkest Dungeon is a unique. But if your opponent sitting over there on their side with some artifact being carried by their avatar, on turn 4, you tap to play Darkest Dungeon with that Genesis effect to pull your opponent over, and then you play Mimic. And because that artifact that's being held by the avatar has been in play, the Mimic doesn't have summoning sickness. And the Mimic can hit them right away and take them to the dungeon. Oh, I am so excited. I am just excited for this deck. There's lots of other cards. I may do a follow-up video. I was just so excited about this and finally getting kind of a working framework for the deck finally up on Curiosa.io that I was like, oh, I just got to make a video about this. I got to talk about it. So take a look, see what you think. If there are cards you think I should put in the deck, cards you think I should remove, let me know. You know, if there are things you're thinking, oh, I don't know, take that out or put this in, tell me. I will say a few things. One, any type of movement card, I want it to be able to move units. That's very important. It can't just move minions because the whole goal of this deck is to get that avatar as fast as possible on my side of the board and then beat him down and win the game. That's the point. So cards like our new Succubus that's out there, cards that also do other movement effects but don't say units but instead just say minions, those aren't really going to work for this. Now, I will admit I had Succubus in there initially and I was like, that ability is really good. She may come back. We don't know. But that's kind of the thing. So take a look, see what you think. If there are any changes, any cards you think I should try instead of what's in there, let me know. And I can't wait to play and use Dungeon probably for the next several months and really try to tweak it. I don't get to play a lot. So, you know, unlike many folks who are able to test a lot, I don't get to do that. So when I have those rare opportunities and I have a deck that I like and enjoy, you know, the testing and being able to test, it takes me longer because I don't have those opportunities. That's it for today. As always, keep on contesting the realm!